Sup, you beautiful bastards. Hope you're having a fantastic Monday. Welcome back to the Philip DeFranco Show, and let's just jump into it. And the first thing we're going to talk about today, one of the most requested stories from over the weekend, is actually YouTube business news, because there was a lot of outrage and controversy about this clip from YouTube. And it's specifically from their verified YouTube channel creator, Insider, and the video is titled, Making Money and Demystifying Live Notifications, YouTube Live Streaming Q&A. And this is the clip that's been getting shared.
We don't notify all of your subscribers, right? We notify all of your subscribers who have rung the bell, and then your most active subscribers after that.
Okay, so we try to notify the people who we believe would be most likely to tune in and watch your content.
That's right.
While it's live.
That's right. While
not necessarily overwhelming and spamming all of your subscribers with these notifications.
That's right.
That makes sense to me.
Yeah. That's what we see our users want.
Okay.
Also, there was a lot of conversation about, is this just about notifications when someone goes live or all videos? And based on the response I got from YouTube, it seems like it is for live and regular videos. They didn't hit on, clarify that point, so it appears to be across the board. And so in general, the response has been, what the hell, YouTube? When I subscribe to a channel, it's because I want to know when they upload a new video. And there are a lot of top creators sounding off. Jesse Wellens, a longtime YouTuber, tweeting, are you fucking kidding me, YouTube? Now I understand why I only get 500,000 views with 10 million subs. Adding, so because I want to make quality content twice a month, I get screwed? Your stupid system only works for daily, cause us to lose our minds making daily content. So frustrating. And a question a lot of people had after watching this video is, okay, if I don't have the bell checked, but I did subscribe to someone because I do want to watch more of their content, what exactly happens? And they actually hit on this in that video.
If they don't ring the bell and they're just subscribers, we put them in a occasional notification state. So that means that they get algorithmically determined notifications. Mouthful there, but what it really just means...
what does that mean?
Yeah, what that really just means is that your most active subscribers, so users who are watching your channel and your live streams, are going to get notifications as soon as you go live. We also send notifications to users who aren't your subscribers, but they also watch your content very actively, and we think they'll be interested in watching your live stream, so we send them notifications as well.
And so essentially YouTube's saying that there are tiers to subscriptions. You can subscribe, and based off of your actual intake of a certain piece of content, you will get notifications based off of the algorithm, right? That if you're just doing this, you're saying, I'm the kind of user that, yes, sometimes I would like notifications, but I know the person's schedule, I know that I can just check my subscription tab. And then if you want the most premium version of subscriptions, notifications when it actually comes out, you gotta ring that bell. I also reached out to YouTube, and they said that the reason that they did this is that when they had notifications for everyone, what they ended up noticing was that the click-through rate for that individual user would go down. They also saw more users unsubscribing from YouTubers, and they also saw an increase in people turning off notifications for the entire app. And I have to say, as someone that's been, in the past week, negatively affected in different ways by the algorithm, obviously hearing this, it concerns me. There's also just a lot about YouTube that doesn't seem to make sense. Example, How To Basic put out a video yesterday saying, face reveal, 10 million subscribers, here's a face reveal, got 12 million views, but when I went to trending this morning for the United States, there's a Sidemen video that did get a lot of traction, 2.9 million, a BuzzFeed video, 2.9 million, and then a vlog about a puppy that has 276,000 views. I'm just saying there are a lot of questions. But at the same time, as a person that consumes a lot of YouTube, I also understand. Like, I'm subscribed to a ton of channels on YouTube, but I don't want notifications every single time those videos come out. There are a few that are my daily or weekly go-tos that I make sure that I have notifications on, and then for my personal experience, I'll go to subscriptions. That said, their system seems to be built towards subscriber drop-off. Like, the question becomes, okay, let's say you stop watching someone for a little bit. If you don't have the bell checked, at what point will YouTube stop notifying you? Because once YouTube stops notifying you, it's probably a lot less likely that you'll get that viewer back. But YouTube would most likely argue that you had pretty much lost that viewer by that point. But at the same time, I get the general frustration, because while all of this happens, we are still talking about a YouTube ecosystem that seemingly, there were a lot of people saying this. It seemed to be that during like the Logan Paul scandal back in the day, even a lot of people that weren't subscribed to him because they were watching his content to see what the hell is happening, they were getting notifications for this guy's channel that they weren't subscribing to, which most likely probably lent to Logan Paul getting 1 million subscribers during a massive suicide controversy. And the system in place focused on Logan rather than other actual subscriptions that person would have. And I want to end this story on 2 notes. One is, if you subscribe to someone because you really like, they're like top 10th of your viewership, make sure after you hit subscribe, you also hit that bell so you get notifications when they do work. Treat that as the, I want to know the moment this gets released for sure. I want to make sure I know when there is definitely a video. And a regular subscription as, I want these kind of things to pop up in my feed, and when I hit subscriptions, I'll get around to it. And 2, I'd love to know your thoughts on this. Do you think that this system as is, that makes sense, or no, it's ridiculous? Or actually, this does make sense, but YouTube needs to do a better job explaining this? Whatever you think on this, I'd love to know in those comments down below. Then, over the past 24 hours, we've seen a lot of Stormy Daniels back in the news, but I do think that it's important to note that there's very little new information. Stormy had an interview with 60 Minutes that aired on Sunday, and in it she details the affair in detail. There's really no point going into that again. She really hits home on that she was not a victim, that this was consensual. But the bit of new information is she went into detail about how she was threatened after she did a 2011 interview with In Touch magazine, and here's her talking about that.
I was in a parking lot going to a fitness class with my infant daughter. I was taking, the seats facing backwards in the back seat, diaper bag, getting all the stuff out, and a guy walked up on me and said to me, "Leave Trump alone, forget the story." And then he leaned around and looked at my daughter and said, "It's a beautiful little girl. It'd be a shame if something happened to her mom." And then he was gone.
And so because of this alleged threat, she said she was concerned for her family's safety. She said she feared she would face legal repercussions if she didn't just take the money and go along with the denial. Regarding having texts or pictures with Trump, she said that her lawyer advised her not to talk about that at this time. We also know that Donald Trump's lawyer's lawyer has sent a cease and desist to Stormy's lawyer, saying, "I hereby demand that you and your client cease and desist from making any further false and defamatory statements about my client, that you immediately retract and apologize to Mr. Cohen through the national media for your defamatory statements on 60 Minutes, and make clear that you have no facts or evidence whatsoever to support your allegations that my client had anything whatsoever to do with this alleged thug." We also got a response from the White House today.
Was the president aware of a physical threat made against Ms. Daniels when she was with her daughter back in 2011?
Well, the president doesn't believe that any of the claims that Ms. Daniels made last night in the interview are accurate.
He doesn't believe she was threatened?
No, he does not.
What's his basis for that, Raj?
Sorry?
What's his basis for that?
Well, he just doesn't believe that, there's nothing to corroborate her claim.
And so as of right now, that is where we are. It will be interesting to see how this situation develops, even though the Summer Zervo story, that situation, that is potentially more meaningful in the grand scheme of things. But if you're someone that's hoping that this story goes away very soon, it might not. According to CBS, 60 Minutes was delivered to more than 22 million people. It's the largest audience they've had since 2008, which actually, funny enough, was the first sit-down interview with President-elect Barack Obama and his wife Michelle Obama for their first post-election interview. But ultimately, we'll have to wait and see if that is true. But from that, I want to share some stuff I love today. And today in Awesome, brought to you by Postmates. Postmates, of course, a fantastic delivery on-demand app. You want something from the store, a restaurant, boom, open up the app, they will deliver it to your house, your office, your wherever. And I have to say, for me personally, it is the ultimate convenience, a massive time saver, and just anytime I don't have to be around people that I had to be around people in the past, I'm a fan. And so with that said, if you want to try it out like many from the nation already have, go to postdefranco.com, download the app, make sure you enter in offer code PHILAD. And if you enter in that code, they will give you $100 in free delivery credit. And the first bit of awesome is FX released the first look at season 2 of Legion. I am very excited, and I recommend with an asterisk. If you haven't seen the first season, I highly recommend it, but it's not going to be for everyone. Also, in a bit of awesome, I would like to confirm on now YouTube, I already did it on Twitter, but as of last Friday, I've officially shot out my episode of Hot Ones with Sean Evans. I believe that'll be up in about 2-ish weeks, so you can stop telling us both to do that. And in addition to that, I also shot out an interview with Sean Evans for an episode of A Conversation With, which of course the last time we did that was with Casey Neistat a long time ago. So be on the lookout for that. Then if you're in the mood for some food porn, Thrillis put out a video about New Age Austin barbecue. And kind of on a random note, when I'm watching food videos or food on TV, I never feel more like an animal than that, because I'll just start salivating and I'm like, oh, okay, I can do whatever I want in this world, but at the end of the day, my brain's still the same brain that's like, oh, food on TV, time to eat that now. Then we had Domix putting out a video about buying used things. The Slow-Mo guy is doing a giant paint drill in 4K. We got a trailer for the new 2 Chainz documentary that actually seems pretty interesting. And if you want to see the full versions of everything I just shared, the secret link of the day, anything at all, links as always are in the description down below. And then let's talk about the March for Our Lives rally that happened over the weekend. The rallies in general were meant to call for action against gun violence. The march was led by Parkland students and organized after the tragedy that took place last month at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School, where 17 people were killed. We saw hundreds of thousands of protesters participate across the globe, even stretching to places like Australia, Japan, and France, but the main event took place in Washington, D.C. There was an estimated 180,000 people in attendance. And at the rally, you had celebrities like Miley Cyrus, Ariana Grande, Demi Lovato performing. And you also had students from Stoneman Douglas like David Hogg, Sam Fuentes, Cameron Kasky giving speeches. And one of the speeches that got the most coverage came from Stoneman Douglas student Emma Gonzalez. And you might remember Emma from her We Call BS speech that went viral last month. She has become one of the main faces of this movement. But this time, Emma only spoke less than 2 minutes. She actually stood there on stage quiet for 4 minutes, 26 seconds, and after standing there silently, she said this.
Since the time that I came out here, it has been 6 minutes and 20 seconds. The shooter has ceased shooting and will soon abandon his rifle, blend in with the students as they escape, and walk free for an hour before arrest. Fight for your lives before it's someone else's job.
We also had a speech from Naomi Wagler that went viral. Naomi's just 11 years old. The speech was under 4 minutes, but it really stood out to a lot of people because she talked about black women, specifically how they're disproportionately underrepresented when it comes to victims of gun violence.
I am here today to acknowledge and represent the African American girls whose stories don't make the front page of every national newspaper, whose stories don't lead on the evening news. I represent the African American women who are victims of gun violence, who are simply statistics instead of vibrant, beautiful girls that full of potential.
I will say, to me personally, this speech did stand out. Obviously, we're seeing this big movement happen because this is following a school shooting. Children were murdered. And before I say this, please understand I'm not trying to minimize what happened at Stoneman Douglas. But an important note that a lot of people have noticed is that if you're talking about a school shooting and gun violence in general in America, school shootings are an outlier. They are a minimal percentage of gun violence in America. And then you look to Chicago, where there's massive gun violence, not necessarily in schools, where a lot of people feel like they've been saying this is a problem. But because those shootings involve people of color, it didn't really gain the same traction. And in general, over the weekend, it seemed like people who have had this mindset, they went one of two ways. They either leaned into people of color have been talking about this for a longer time, or you know what, no matter what, there's attention on this at the time, so let's really embrace it. And speaking of reactions, we saw a lot of reactions towards the march in general. The White House responding with a statement. We applaud the many courageous young Americans exercising their First Amendment rights today. Former President Obama tweeting, Michelle and I are so inspired by all the young people who made today's marches happen. Keep at it, you're leading us forward. Nothing can stand in the way of millions of voices calling for change. But they weren't all pro. You had people like Tommy Lahren tweeting, simply being anti-NRA is not a solution. March for something, not just against everything. The NRA posting on Facebook, today's protests aren't spontaneous. Gun-hating billionaires and Hollywood elites are manipulating and exploiting children as part of their plan to destroy the Second Amendment and strip us of our right to defend ourselves and our loved ones. Former House Speaker Newt Gingrich making similar comments on Fox News, saying, I think it would be fascinating to know who paid for it all. I mean, the left has this wonderful ability to mobilize. So the day after inaugural, you have the Women's March. People come in buses. Who paid for the buses? People who organized the whole process. Who brought the entertainers? Republican Congressman Steve King criticizing Emma Gonzalez, posting a picture of Emma with the text, this is how you look when you claim Cuban heritage, yet don't speak Spanish and ignore the fact that your ancestors fled the island when the dictatorship turned Cuba into a prison camp after removing all weapons from its citizens, hence their right to self-defense. Later adding, pointing out the irony of someone wearing the flag of a communist country while simultaneously calling for gun control isn't picking on anyone. We also had Bill Mitchell compare David Hogg, one of the survivors, to Hitler Youth, tweeting Hollywood Agent's Office, Secretary, Central Casting called. They're looking for a Damien Children of the Corn Hitler Youth type to cast in a flick about an Orwellian future where fear and emotionalism is used to subjugate a free people. Agent. Nailed it. And I will say that a note I want to hit on here is if you want to disagree or you want to attack the argument of one of these Parkland, Florida kids, go for it. When you start talking about someone looking like Hitler Youth, Children of the Corn, I mean, you're being a fucking asshole. A disgusting asshole who shouldn't be taken seriously. Also, back to Emma Gonzalez, there was a GIF and pictures of her ripping up the Constitution being spread around. That image was actually doctored. It originated from a Teen Vogue story that was released on March 23rd, and it originally showed her ripping up a Target poster. And so there was just this fake picture / GIF that was being shared for a while. It appears that it may have originated from this social media account called The Gab. They ended up confirming it was fake about 4 hours after posting the original, tweeting, this is obviously a parody / satire. You're all mad because it's believable, isn't it? That's the best type of satire. It's a comedic reflection of reality. We also saw criticism about some of the signs that were being held at these rallies. Like this one with a young kid with a sign that reads, when I said I'd rather die than go to math class, that was hyperbole, assholes. And so you had people criticizing the language, also people saying they were exploiting their children for their agenda. Some of the other signs that made their way on social media included, it was harder to buy this poster board than an AR-15, something is wrong. Girls' clothing is more regulated than guns. Let's ban guns like we ban boobs. A lot of people pointing out that those signs really missed the mark, but a thing I do want to note there, whether it be kind of a left-leaning rally or a right-leaning rally, you never really know if what, I'm not saying that this is the case, but just so we all have an open mind about it. Sometimes when you have these rallies, there can be a plant. You see this more in situations where you can't see the face of the person holding the sign. It's just something to think about. Also, when you have an event that has hundreds of thousands of people, when you point out one or two signs, it can really derail the general idea of what everyone's trying to do. We also saw students at the rally wearing price tags. And the reason for that is March organizers have argued that a student's life to people like Marco Rubio, Republican senator from Florida, that is what each student's life is worth to them. This because they say there are 3,140,167 students enrolled in the state of Florida, and according to the organization, Marco Rubio has received $3,303,355 from the NRA. They then did the math, and that's why you were seeing those price tags. And here I will say I think that is an incredible oversimplification of the issue at hand. Yes, we are dealing with some people who will do literally anything for money, but you're also talking about people that have a different ideology than you. And that's even hard to say because I think that there are also a lot of different types of people that went to the rally that have a lot of different opinions on what is the right thing to do. Right? There's a range here. I mean, there are people that want just better background checks. Maybe they're focusing on mental health care, age requirement changes, bans on certain weapons, bans on all weapons. And on the point of we are doing this because we don't want to see more school shootings, those you may not agree with are saying the best way to defend against that is actually more guns. Right? The people that don't agree with you necessarily, their argument is that more guns actually defend people, they save lives. And I'm not saying what's right or wrong here, I just think that the price tag is a big simplification. You also had people talking about Patrick Petty. Petty's sister, who reportedly went to Stoneman Douglas, she was in the JROTC program. She's one of the 3 JROTC members that died during the shooting, and he tweeted, "Hey Emma, for change, please stop using my sister's name to push your agenda. She did not and would not support it." So there was this conversation of including her in the numbers, including her in this incident, is this exploitation? Or no, because it doesn't actually change the situation or argument. But on that note, I do want to pass the question off to you. What are your thoughts about this? The whole thing? Any specific standouts? I'd love to know what you're thinking and why. Then let's talk about a bunch of Russians getting the boot. In separate announcements from the White House, Department of State, the U.S. mission to the UN, the U.S. announced the expulsion of 60 Russian diplomats in the United States, 48 of which are diplomats at the Russian embassy in D.C., and 12 of those are diplomats to the UN residing in New York. And in addition to this, the U.S. is closing the Russian consulate in Seattle by April 2nd. This reportedly because of the proximity to a U.S. naval base in Boeing. And according to the White House, this is in response to Russia's use of a military-grade chemical weapon on the soil of the United Kingdom, adding today's actions make the United States safer by reducing Russia's ability to spy on Americans and to conduct covert operations that threaten America's national security. And in response to this, we saw a spokesperson for the Kremlin say, "We've said more than once and we say once again, Russia has had nothing to do with this affair whatsoever. Naturally, as before, we will proceed from the principle of reciprocity." A statement from the Russian Foreign Ministry also adding, "We consider this step as unfriendly and not meeting the tasks and interests of establishing the causes and searching for the perpetrators of the incident that occurred on March 4th. The Russian ambassador to the United States also saying that there will be an adequate response. And today, at least 21 European countries have taken individual diplomatic action against Russia. Lithuania and the Czech Republic saying they would expel 3, Denmark, Italy, and the Netherlands saying that each of them will expel 2. Ukraine is expelling 13 Russian diplomats, Canada expelling 4. Germany, France, and Poland will expel 4 Russian diplomats with intelligence agency background. And this is an unprecedented move for Poland because it's the first time they've taken action against Russia for actions outside of its borders. Now, as far as what happens next, honestly, who knows? I will say for Trump, I do think that it's helpful. It makes it much harder to say that he is being soft on Russia. But ultimately, when looking at the big picture, we're talking about Russia feeling more isolated and more targeted. So what happens next? I have zero clue. We'll just have to wait and see, talk about it then. But for now, what are your thoughts around all this? Are you happy to see the United States joining in here, or no, this is heading to a really bad place? I'd love to know your thoughts in those comments down below. And that's where I'm going to end today's show. And remember, if you liked this video, you like what I'm trying to do on this channel, hit that like button. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button. And also, even if you're subscribed, make sure you have that little bell checked, you have your notifications on so you actually get the alert that you probably wanted in the first place. Also, if you missed the last Philip DeFranco show, you want to catch up, click or tap right there to watch that. Or if you want something lighter, you can watch today's brand new behind the scenes vlog, click or tap right there. But that's it, of course. As always, my name's Philip DeFranco. You've just been filled in. I love yo faces, and I'll see you tomorrow.